Afternoon, Brendan.
Very good afternoon.
I'll start off with team news. Have you had an update around James Maddison's knee injury?
Yeah, he won't be available for the game. So he was with Mark, our doctor, getting some special advice in London today. So I'll await to hear from them a little bit later on. But he won't be available for the game.
Do you know how long he may
No.
be out for? Fair enough, no worries. Dennis Pratt, he limped off against Newcastle. Any update on him?
Yeah, he won't be available either. He's obviously still sore and struggling with his side. So we'll look to see where he's at next week.
Any other injury concerns ahead of Anfield?
No, none. I don't think. No more.
And you mentioned after Newcastle there was a lack of aggression and physicality. How do you instill that going to Anfield within a few days of the last game?
Well, listen, look, we were very disappointed with the performance on against Newcastle. It was unlike what we'd been for a few months. You know, we've been very strong, very aggressive. But I think if you look 52 seconds into the game, we make the mistake and then we give them the penalty, and within the first 10 minutes you're 2-0 down. It makes it very, very difficult against a team that's high in confidence and playing well. So I think it was one of those ones we spoke about it yesterday. It's a game that we have to learn from, and to be fair, that there's no better indicator of this group's mentality than if you look back to this time last year. We lost away in Boxing Day against Manchester City. We conceded 6 goals, and in the very next game we were playing Liverpool, and we won the game 1-0 with a really fantastic performance, very spirited against a top team. So that tells you everything about the mentality of the team. It was just so disappointing from where we've been to start how we did, and but that's the learning. That's what we have to look at, and we have done, and we now get ready for another tough game at Anfield.
And what do you expect from this Liverpool team? Obviously, maybe a bit different to previous years. Darwin Núñez up front. What are you expecting from them?
No, still the same, very much the same identity. We'll want to press, be aggressive, counter-pressing, all those aspects of the game of what you've seen over the last numbers of years, to be there, and obviously playing at home or away, but want to create and score goals. So always a difficult game, and nobody more knows that more than myself at Anfield, but it's a great challenge for us, and that's what the looking at the Newcastle disappointment for us. It was disappointing, like I say, but challenges are there to be overcome, and this is a great opportunity for us to get out there and in a fantastic game.
Liverpool are close to signing Cody Gakpo from PSV, someone you'll know well, having played them twice last season. What do you remember of him and what you've seen in the World Cup, and what do you think he could add to the league?
There's been a lot of speculation around him for a little while. So no, he played off the side against us and through the middle. So he's a player that's flexible along the front line, good speed, and clearly has an eye for goal. So yeah, he comes into the Premier League, and that's always interesting to see how long it takes for players to come in and to adapt. But he's clearly a talented player.
Just final one from me, Brendan. With the few injuries you've picked up recently as well, does it kind of make you think you need to quicken your activity in the January transfer window, or is it kind of the same plans?
No, listen, we've had a period of time now to know what it is we exactly need, and and hopefully we can get that done sooner rather than later. That's the idea. We get players in. We know the areas that we wanted to improve. So hopefully that can take place earlier in the window rather than later.
Afternoon, Brendan.
Hi,
well.
Jason.
Ken and Dewsbury Hall, after the game on Monday, on Boxing Day, used the word spineless and soft when describing the performance and how the team played. What kind of reaction have you seen or maybe heard from the players in the last couple of days after that Newcastle defeat?
Yeah, to be fair, that's the first I heard that. So secondly, yeah, there was disappointment. That was clear. I think that having waited so long and on the back of a really good run at home, we were all looking forward to the game. Our preparations had gone really, really well. um, throughout the off period. So we were really looking forward to the game. But yeah, it's the players were naturally disappointed, like we all were. You know, we were due to have a day off yesterday, but we came in just to talk about it and assess it, and then use that as the lever to move on. So today we get ready and be prepared for the game on Friday. So, but listen, these players have been full of effort and commitment, and to pull the season around from where it was to what they'd done up until the Newcastle game, it really shows that that feeling of what Kieran's saying is probably an emotion after the game. But the reality is these guys have got, you know, they got so much heart and so much mentality, and like I said, it was probably a reaction to a disappointing performance.
We asked Eddie Howe after the game what pleased him most about the result of the performance. He said the fact they were just ready for the game. You know, given the performance from your guys, did you feel ready for it?
We felt ready, yeah, but I think that when you make mistakes early in the game, then it can have that negative effect. And so yeah, we felt ready. We had worked really hard, and but yeah, as I said, but when you concede 2 goals so early in the game, it really, you know, the context of the game totally then changes. So yeah, but we've done a lot of really good work leading into it.
If I can ask you about 3 of your individual players, Patson Daka for one, struggled a little bit on Monday, just like everybody else really, but I think it's 8 league goals since he's joined the club, scored a few in Europe last season. We'll remember the game in Moscow, of course. Do you think he's where you expected him to be at 18 months into his Leicester City career in how he's performing and how he is amongst the players on the field?
Well, amongst his teammates, he's really respected. You see it on the training field every day, and obviously he's a young player coming into a new league and a totally different standard. But what I get from Patson is I get everything from him every day, and in the games, you know, the run that we'd been on, he played a big part in creating that energy that we wanted at the top end of the field with his pressing and work rate, and then that creates space for other players. So he sometimes hasn't always got the goals that he would have liked, but I respect the work that he puts in to create the opportunities, and so yeah, he's a guy that's always wanting to learn, always wanting to be better, and that will continue to be the case whilst he's here.
Wilfred Ndidi has been a quality player for the football club over the last few years. Obviously had difficulties with injuries over the last year or so, and maybe form as well at the start of the season, although everybody pretty much did as well. How close is he to maybe starting a game again?
Yeah, he will. We've got a really busy schedule in January, and I think for Wilf, it was, you know, I've had a good sit down with him and a really honest conversation, and he knows where he's been at in terms of the level that certainly when I first came in here for a couple of years, and he has struggled with a number of injuries, and so but it's just a case of sometimes coming away from the team and working on the training field and just resetting everything, and I can see that in training that has allowed him to have that freshness back in his game. So there's no doubt over the coming weeks he'll be ready to start.
Forgive me on this one, I'm just seeking some clarification over James Maddison. The injury that he's got now, is it the same that he went away with?
No.
No. So what actually has gone on over the last few weeks? Obviously he didn't play for England, was on the bench, only really trained. So what actually happened while he was out in Qatar and maybe when he came back as well?
Well, he was clearly getting treatment when he was out there, and he and the medical team in England have deemed him okay to train. So he was training and available for games. He's come back to here, looked to do some work, and then felt some pain in a different part of his knee. So the medical team have assessed that, looked at that. He's tried to go out onto the field and do some work, multi-directional work, and he's getting a pain from it. So So the medical team and the club have, we've gone down to London today to see the specialist and get another opinion on it to see where he's at, and that's where we're at up to the latest time.
Final one from me, just about business or potential business in January. Can I ask, again, some clarification over what's changed from the summer? Obviously, you sold Wesley Fofana for a decent chunk of change there, so I guess that's part of it as well. But what's been the difference in how the club approached the summer to maybe January, when you might be able to bring in 2 or 3 players?
Listen, I only get told what's available and what's not. The dynamics of everything behind it will be up to the people who run the club. The summer there was nothing available, but thankfully we have some possibilities to do some work in January. So that's clearly been my focus. So hopefully we can do that, get some freshness into the squad, and look to push on for this part of the season going forward.
Good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
Hi, Brendan. Hope you're okay.
Yeah. Apart from the cold.
On James Maddison, has he been able to train at all since coming back? I know you said that he was out on the grass doing some more directional work, but has he been able to train at all?
No, he hasn't trained with the squad, no.
Okay. On the January transfer window, you've identified in previous interviews left back, right winger, and a centre half as options that you would like to, strengthen the squad with in the window. Yeah. What do the profiles of each of those players look like for you, the kind of profile of player you want to bring to the club?
Well, I've always, in most of my teams, I've always had 2 wingers that are fast and dynamic and can threaten the back line. So I like speed in a winger. Left back, it's clear we need somebody to come in. We've only obviously got to look. We get Tim who can come across the other side, but I also think in positions we also need profile. We need a bit more stature in the team. So that's something that we will look at as well, covering the positions. And clearly, a centre half, you need to be of a certain stature and profile to play in that position. So I think the stature of the team we can increase. But certainly the power and speed along the front line is very important for any team of mine.
With, you've mentioned kind of funds already and that there may be a possibility. Do you think that the club will have to move some players on in order to create more funds to bring in those players and maybe even to free up space in the squad, or is that not an issue at this point?
Well, I think there's going to be that natural transition. I think the club know that there's some players that will need to move on. But what's been made clear is that there will be monies there in order to bring some players in. So, but I think obviously players, if they're not playing and they want game time, they may have to look elsewhere.
You've got a number of players who are out of contract in the summer. Have discussions started with any of those players other than Yuri Tillemans, who you've mentioned before, to stay at the club, or is that something that's not being considered now?
Yeah, no, there's been ongoing conversations over a number of months with some of the players like Soyuncu and Amartey, and I've had conversations with Johnny Evans, myself as well. So yeah, I think for the club have been speaking to the representatives of the players for a little while, and like I say, there's quite a number of them that will be out of contract. So there's clearly work been going on for a little while on that.
Have there been discussions with players who the club have told that will be free to leave in the summer and that a new contract won't be coming?
Nothing as of yet.
Okay. Final one, Brendan, but I wonder for you, when you take a side to Anfield, what are the kind of key fundamentals that your side need to have to get a result of any kind, whether that's a win or a draw?
Well, I think that the first 20 minutes of a game at Anfield is always very important. With the crowd and the intensity of which a Liverpool team will want to play, then that's important. So that resilience and that mentality, but also that you need that ability to, if you do go behind, to have that belief, and that's always, I think, in any game of football, There's two games. You have the game itself, but before that you have the game of belief. You need to always believe every time you step onto the field, especially against some of the big teams away from home. You need to have that belief and mentality that you can get a result. So for us, like I say, we've got a great opportunity going to a great stadium to play football in, and look to see if we can replicate that spirit and mentality that we did last time we played.
Brendan, thank you very much. Best of luck on Friday.
Thanks, Owen. Thank you.